So before we get started, a little housekeeping. Please note that the session is being recorded so that these resources will be available to you and businesses who couldn't join us today. This session and the slides that will be shared today will be posted to the same link where you registered, so you'll be able to access all this information again after today. Your audio has been muted, but please make sure to keep your audio muted. And cameras have also been turned off. We're all going to have cameras off except for the speaker who's presenting. We will have plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the webinar. So we ask that you use the chat function within this platform to ask any questions anytime during the webinar, and we will get to all of those questions at the end. Next, safety is our top value and priority at Nicor Gas. And here we begin every meeting or event with the safety moment. So before we start the webinar with our great speakers today, I'm going to introduce Dante Elmer, who's our Supervisor of Customer Development, to share a safety moment and a brief diversity and inclusion moment. Off to you, Dante.
Thank you, Mina. Good afternoon, everyone. To begin this meeting, I would like to discuss home office electrical safety. With many of us during the pandemic working from home and children doing e-learning from home, electrical safety could be something that's easily overlooked. Our electrical overloads are one of the most common causes of house fires. They're actually the third most frequent according to the National Fire Protection Association. So a few tips to avoid any issues: treat all electrical components as if they are energized. Utilize outlets that can handle the power requirements of the equipment you are using. And utilize outlets that can handle the power requirements. And inspect all electrical cords before use, and that includes extension cords as well. And if you're going to use an extension cord or a power strip, make sure it has the 3-hole connection and the ground prong. 3 prongs, 3-hole connection. Excuse me. Do not overload a circuit. Remember, a circuit can be multiple rooms. It can be a string of outlets, just not one single outlet. Most are rated for 15 amps. Also, do not overload an outlet. Instead, use a surge protector with enough outlets that you can connect all of your equipment safely. And remember, power strips are not surge protectors. The difference there is that a power strip just adds more outlets, where a surge protector can protect your equipment and yourself from any electrical spikes. Now for our diversity and inclusion moment here at Nicor Gas. We like to celebrate diversity and inclusion, and today I would like to talk a little bit about building awareness of diversity and in creating an inclusive holiday environment. So there are 4 key components to doing that. First is be aware. Realize that people celebrate a variety of holidays, and some people choose not to celebrate holidays at all. Be respectful. Be respectful of others and their differences, and take an interest in what they celebrate and what holidays that they participate in. Be open about yourself, and be open to others, welcoming of their celebrations as well. And lastly, do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to talk about your celebrations, what you and your family participate in. Don't be afraid to ask others what they celebrate and how they celebrate their holidays. We can all celebrate diversity and inclusion by using the holiday celebration time with our friends and family, and building an understanding and awareness of the traditions and beliefs of others. Take a few minutes and cut out a little bit of time during this holiday season to learn about another culture's celebration and holiday with their family. Michelle?
Thank you so much, Dante. Very well said. Great safety message and a great D&I moment as well. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Muhammad. I'm the Director of Supply Diversity for Southern Company Gas. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you our first speaker, Ruben Hamilton. So a little bit about Ruben. He is the Chicago Minority Supplier Diversity Council's Chicago Minority Development Agency CARES Act Program Coordinator, and he's responsible for the administration of the program. He has over 15 years of experience in supplier diversity field and has worked with such companies as Walgreens Booth Alliance, Express Scripts, United Airlines, and CVS Health Caremark. He's been actively involved in the selection process of suppliers to meet corporate needs. A graduate of North Park University, Ruben is actively involved as a member with several local and nationally recognized advocacy groups. He is the past board of directors members with the James Jordan Boys and Girls Club, a board member of the ISM Institute of Supply Management, Chicago chapter, and recently served as the chairman of the Supplier Diversity Committee. Serves as a member of the Chicago Women's Business Development Center, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, the Chicago Minority Business Development Council, and the National Minority Supplier Development Council, where he served as the past co-chair of the National Healthcare Industry Group. He was awarded the Andres C. Rassamini Jr. Award in 2003 and the Chairman's Special Recognition Award in 2010 by the Minority Business Enterprise Input Committee of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us, and let us welcome Ruben Hamilton.
Wow, good morning, and thank you for that wonderful introduction, Michelle. I want to start by thanking Mina and Michelle and Nicor Gas and the Southern companies for inviting us to be able to be part of this program. We live in some challenging times, and there's a lot of different types of activities that's going on, and there's a lot of things that small businesses are dealing with and trying to stabilize themselves with. So it's a pleasure to be able to come to this platform and be able to offer some information that hopefully will give some guidance, as well as give some information and some instructions on some things that are available to you. So as Michelle has indicated, I'm with the Chicago Minority Business Development Council, the Mbda Minority Business Development Agency specifically. And we consider ourselves your partner in sustainable economic growth. The next slide. Now, the Chicago Minority Business Development Center, basically, here's some information about the council. They was founded in 1967 and is one of the oldest councils as part of a national organization, which includes the NMSDCs, which includes several different, about 23 or so different regional affiliates, and it's one of the largest recognized certifying agencies and small business development or minority business development agencies within the country. The primary mission for the CMSDC is to certify, develop, connect, and advocate for minority businesses. And that is key and critical because in this day and age, as I said earlier, there's a lot of help that is needed. Highlights for some of the things that the council has done, approximately 21 million in MBE contracts in 2016 has been awarded. There's been over 1,000 certified MBEs local and 12,000 nationally. And recently they celebrated their 53rd CBOF, which is a Chicago Business Opportunity Fair. And there will be one in 2021. And we hope that everybody will attend because it is a means of being able to connect, develop, and to connect and develop your operation with large organizations. Next slide, please. So the MBDA Center, who are we? Well, it's a federally funded program. This slide will give you some information about it. It's federally funded by the U.S. Department of Commerce. The Minority Business Development Agency is operated by the Chicago Minority Supply Development Council. And the agency is the U.S. Department of Commerce that helps to create and sustain U.S. jobs and promoting the growth and global competitiveness of businesses owned and operated in by minority enterprises. So there's a lot that the MBDA does for both minority-owned businesses as well as non-minority-owned businesses. And so it's very important. This is a very key part of the operation, and I think it's going to be very critical to helping a lot of suppliers to be able to find their footing. Next slide, please. Now, within the MBDA operation, there now has been a new program set up, which is called the CARES Act. And this is the newest center for the Chicago Minority Business Development Center. And it's primarily designed to provide fast and direct economic assistance for American workers, families, and small businesses, and preserve jobs for our American industries. The MBDA Center contact information is listed there. Again, I'm the program coordinator, and Lenore Harris is the administrative assistant. Feel free to reach out to us. The program has been in place since June of 2020, and we have been able to help a lot of suppliers with various different aspects of understanding what options are available for them for their business operation. Next slide, please. Now, a lot of people are familiar with the CARES Act, but I wanted to just provide some additional information and clarity so that individuals would know. This comes directly from the U.S. Department of Treasury. The Coronavirus Act Relief and Economic Security, CARES Act, was passed by Congress with overwhelming bipartisanship support and signed into law by the current president on March 27, 2020. This over $2 trillion economic relief package delivers on the current president's administrative commitment to providing the American people from the public health and economic impact of COVID-19. So this funding, which the MBDA Center has received, is used to be able to provide education and help to provide information to small businesses and minority-owned businesses so that they can be better able to survive and thrive in these economically challenging times. Next slide, please. Now, what I've been primarily asked to provide to you is information relating to options that you have as it relates to funding and educational opportunities. So to that degree, there's a lot of funding that's out here that's available. It's just a matter of understanding it, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. Like take, for instance, the SBA. The SBA is offering funding from the EIDL loans, the economic injury disaster loans, and you can obtain these loans from a COVID-19 impact and from a civil unrest impact. Now, there is a third one. It's called the Advantage Loan, but that Advantage Loan is no longer being offered. So I didn't put it up on here because it's not one that's viable. But this one, the EIDL loan, is something that's available to you. The website to get information is listed there, the www.sba.gov. You go to that website and it'll give you access to all of these particular loans. There's the PPP loan. Everybody's aware of the PPP loan and all of the various different activities that have come about from that. There is also a community advantage recovery loan that's available, a CARL loan. That one is limited, but is one that you can potentially get some funding from. And you can usually use your local SBDCs, the small business development agencies, to be able to get access and get information on that. There's the SBD loan and the loan. Now, some other loan programs that are out there is the Advantage Illinois Loan Program. That one is a great program, and it can be used. And all of these loans, I should say, are not loans that are specific to any area within the Illinois region. It's available throughout the entire state. The CIBC Entrepreneurial Loan Program, the Illinois Small Business Emergency Loan Program, and then there's other local loan programs that is going to be offered by your banks and offered by other lending institutions that you can seek out. Lenore and I will be happy to provide you with any information about other loan programs that are available and some of the stipulations and things that you have to be aware of with those loans. Like with anything, it's a loan, so there are payment, you have to pay some of the monies back based upon whatever the arrangements are you've made with that particular lending institution. Next slide, please. Now, one of the other areas of funding opportunities is grants, and heaven knows we all know we'll love to have a grant, because most grants, well, no, not most, all grants, you do not, for the most part, have to pay back, but the grants will vary in different amounts. The biggest one that's out here right now is the Business Interruption Grant. Here is the website that you can get to that particular grant. And I really want to encourage a lot of people, everybody, not a lot of people, I want to encourage everybody to go out and look at this grant, because this is something that is being promoted throughout the state. It's available to all size businesses, and it's something that I think will be very beneficial. I think it's something like $2 million or more that's in there. I don't know the amount right at this particular point. There are also grants that are available in various different counties. I've listed one here, which is the Will County Small Business Grant Program. That particular program will give you up to $15,000 in grant money, but there are some stipulations with it. Something like you have to be less than 25 employees, you have to be in business 2 years, and I believe one other stipulation is that you cannot have received grants from any other location, which could potentially be a problem, but you can still look into it, and there still may be an opportunity. There's the City of Urbana Business Grant. There's the Amber Grant for Women, the Neighborhood Opportunity Grant Fund. That's another fund that is available in various different communities, primarily in the Chicago area, the Cook County marketplace. And it's something that is about to get refunded by the City of Chicago, and I'm anticipating that those grants will be available after the first of the year. Downstate Small Business Stabilization Grant Program, again, as stated, is from downstate, and so these are programs that this is a grant program that you can get engaged with that can help you out as well. Hospitality has its own emergency grant program, and again, there's a bunch of other local grant programs. Keep in mind, a lot of these grant programs is not going to be a whole lot of money, but every little bit helps. And it may be something that would be beneficial to you to help stabilize you. And again, in most cases, and well, in all cases, you don't have to pay them back. The biggest one I think here that you should look into is the big loan, the Business Interruption Grant. That one is going to really be beneficial, because I think you can get up to $50,000 or more with that particular program, where you may not see that kind of money with other grant programs. Next slide. So something else that I want to make everybody aware of is that as we live through these challenging times, it's important that a lot of suppliers understand and realize that you've got to pivot your business. You've got to come up with ways to be able to introduce yourself to the marketplace or do things to stabilize your business. You cannot survive now with the status quo or in the ways that you have. It's just too challenging. And here are some of the programs that the Mbda Center is offering to suppliers. They're free of charge. In some cases, you get some free services. How to get your PPP loan forgiven, webinars that we have been doing on and off. And there's so much changing dynamics with that program that is important to understand. Matter of fact, they just recently announced that there was some changes that was happening if you had a loan that was $50,000 or less. So connect with us and let us know if this is something that you would be interested in. Marketing your business. We have that program coming up. It's really digital marketing. That's another means of being able to get yourself recognized. Tax implication of after COVID-19. Renegotiating your lease. How many of us, or not us, but how many suppliers out here have a physical location in a storefront or something like that, and you're not getting the type of business you used to get, and now you need to renegotiate so you can better manage your spending dollars. Strategic business planning post COVID-19, pivoting your business, as I was saying, specific class on that. Human resource changes during COVID-19, how you can better manage your employees and staff. Basics of a business plan. And then the City of Chicago, the business educational workshops, they have a slew of various different types of business programs that you can, webinars that you can access on their website that also will provide you some of the same information. So we hope that this will also help to give people some information that helps them to, identify some of the areas, the challenging areas you have, and what you can do to help to stabilize yourself. Next slide. Okay, so then that takes care of what I wanted to share with everybody. I hope that that is helpful to some people and gives you some insight as to what's available out here. For more information, like I said, my contact information is on the slide. You'll be able to get that at the end of this. Now, Michelle?
Thank you. Webinars and information that's out there, those resources are going to be very helpful for many of our small and diverse businesses. So thank you so much. So now I have the pleasure of introducing Terry Simmons. Terry is an entrepreneur and civic leader, the first director of the Women's Business Center Aurora, the first female chair of the board of Quad County African American Chamber of Commerce, and the first in her family to graduate college. Terry is a strategic innovator who has demonstrated the ability to lead, change, and to influence and motivate diverse teams to achieve outstanding success in a variety of areas. Terry is expertly experienced in nonprofit management, leadership development, and business development. She has also taught at the master's degree level. As a corporate leader, she created a call center, saved over $15 million annually through strategy developing and process improvements, and has supported small businesses in securing millions of loans and grants, as well as helped to create and retain hundreds of jobs. Terry is the owner of Strategic Exceptions, a professional business consulting firm. Strategic Exceptions is an innovative employee training and organizational development company focused on delivering exceptional service standards with quantitative results. Our vision is to provide business strategies that produce exceptional customer experience. Strategic Exceptions specializes in helping organizations drive results in areas of people and processes. Terry is also the founder of the Lewis Simmons Foundation, a 501c3 corporation that aids in the areas of business growth and professional development. The core focus is on those who have been incarcerated and need a second chance. Her mission at her company is to help close the income gap of those in underserved communities. Terry is a mom, a wife, a mentor, and a servant leader. Welcome, Terry.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for that introduction. And thank you to Southern Company, Niagara Gas, again to Michelle and to Mina for having us today. As Michelle mentioned, I am the current director of the CARES Act program for the Women's Business Development Center at the Women's Business Center in Aurora. So the Women's Business Center is an organization that's been around for over 35 years. We're one of the oldest women's business centers in the country. We're one of the largest minority business certifiers. So if you're looking to do business with corporations or with the government, we are a certifier. So if you're a small business and you're looking to get into contracting with those industries, you can look to us. We can help you with that. We have 3 locations that I want to point out. I'm located at 712 South River Street in downtown Aurora. Again, the CARES Act program that I run is a direct grant from the Small Business Administration as a result of the CARES Act that was passed back in March that Ruben talked a lot about. So funding has been allocated for me and the rest of our team in Aurora to particularly serve those businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19. We also have a location at 43 West Galena in downtown Aurora, and that area particularly serves new and nascent businesses. And then we have 8 South Michigan Avenue, which is our corporate headquarters. And that is where we have a lot of different diverse programs that we provide. We have access to capital program where we provide microloans. So for those businesses that may not be able to get a loan in a traditional way to go to a traditional lender, we also are a micro lender. So we have that program located in our office in Chicago and so many more. Our website is www.cmsdc, www.wbdc.org. So you can go to our website. We have lots of tools. Our webinars, our archive webinars are housed there. A lot of our trainings are housed there. At our website, you can also schedule an appointment with one of our many advisors that we have through the Women's Business Center. So that's who we are. Today, I'm very honored that I have the opportunity to talk to small businesses about paperwork. Ruben talked a lot about loans and grants, and I will talk a little bit about that today as well in my portion of the webinar, which actually I like to call a workshop. When Michelle and NICOR asked us to partner with them to provide this information and resources for small businesses, and wanted to know, what is it that small businesses are looking for? What is it that they need? So we all know that we have been faced with this pandemic, COVID-19, and it has caused a lot of economic challenges for small businesses. And as a result of those challenges, what we've seen at the Women's Business Center since March is that a lot of small businesses are really being challenged with getting the necessary paperwork that they need in order to take advantage of the grant and loan opportunities that are out there. And Ruben talked about many of them. So what we found is that a lot of businesses are not ready. They do not have the solid foundation and the structure that they need in order to take advantage of these opportunities. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. Again, when this opportunity was presented, I was very happy because I had already created a presentation, a workshop that I had in the works. And so it fit right in with the conversation that we're talking about today. The presentation that I normally do is about 45 minutes. Can you move to the next slide? The presentation that I normally do is about 45 minutes. So we're going to condense this workshop down for you, but we hope that it'll be engaging for you and that you get a lot out of it. Michelle has already done the introduction. You guys know who I am. But our objective today is to give you some tools that you can use in order for you to be successful. So whenever I facilitate a workshop, I always want to talk about the mindset. And so I start with the mindset because it's important how you show up. Whenever you spend your time, and we all know that for small businesses, time is money. So whenever you are investing your time, think about what's the value that you're getting out of investing your time. So I want you to think about when you showed up for this event today, this wonderful event today, and I want you guys all to put in the chat. Again, I said this is a workshop. Thank you to NICOR and Southern Company for bringing this wonderful information and these resources to you all so that you can continue to be successful in your business. But I want you to think about, why are you here today? Why are you investing this hour and a half of your time, your hard-earned time, into this webinar? So as we go through the next few minutes, I want you to think about that and keep that top of mind. And not only for this webinar, for any activity or engagement that you go into, think about, why are you engaging in an activity and what do you want to get out of that activity? Next slide, please. So why were businesses not ready for grants and loans? What we found, and what I've found as well, and all of us that are advisors with the Women's Business Center, and as a matter of fact, I just attended a conference Tuesday and Wednesday with the Association of Women's Business Center, and this is a common theme for all of us. Why a lot of small businesses were not ready, because a lack of paperwork. And there's some fundamental documents that small businesses need in order to apply for grants and loans. Some small businesses, tax documents, filing taxes are important for securing grants and loans. Do you have the proper documentation? Are you filing your taxes? Do you have a banking relationship? That is a big one. When securing grants and loans, when you look at the application, there's always that question that's on there. What is your banking account? What financial documents? These questions are always on a loan application or grant application. What is your financial health? Do you have a profit and loss statement? Do you have a bank account? Do you have a relationship with your banker? When you have a relationship with a banking relationship, the documents that's required in order to apply for loans and grants, you can pick up your phone and you can talk to your banker and tell your banker what you need. So these are some of the fundamental things that we found that small businesses were lacking, which were some of the reasons why they were unable to take advantage of the opportunities, some of the opportunities that's available. But it's not too late. As Ruben was saying during his portion of the webinar today, that there's still a lot of grant and loan opportunities available. And if you are paying attention to the news, from a federal standpoint, it looks as if our legislators may be authorizing some additional funds for small businesses, hopefully within the next week or so. Next slide, please. So let's talk about getting your paperwork ready. What do you think you need for a loan or grant? And like I said, this is normally a workshop that I do, so it's about 45 minutes. So we're going to go right through the slides. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but I want you to put some thought in, what paperwork do you need for a loan or grant? I mentioned balance sheets. I mentioned profit and loss statements. Those are things that you need for a loan. There are certain registrations that you need. There's this acronym called a DUNS number. What is that thing? Duns and Bradstreet number, and Duns and Bradstreet is the data universal numbering system, and this is the official tracking database of all government contractors. So if you applied or you went to apply for some of the grants that Ruben talked about before, you should have seen, or you should have gotten the question, what is your DUNS number? Are you registered with a DUNS number? A valid DUNS number will be required to register with this other website called sam.gov. Sam, I'm not sure what happened, but the presentation went away. But sams.gov, can you hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if
we can
you
hear you?
me?
We can definitely hear you. I
We
think
can
I
hear you,
was
Terry. I think Lauren might have gotten kicked out of the meeting here, so I'm gonna get that back up for you.
No worries. I'm gonna just keep going. I just wanted to make sure you guys could hear me. Okay, so the SAM system is the Systems for Awards Management. That's what it stands for, and is an official website of the U.S. government, and there's no cost to register in SAMS. And I'm going to give you another quick tip. If you're looking, I talked about certification being MBE, WBE, WOSB. These are all opportunities for certification where you can get access to contracting with corporations as well as the federal and local government. You also need to be actively registered in SAMS.gov in order to do business with those entities as well as registered in SAMS.gov to apply for certain grants. Okay, we can keep going. So what more paperwork do you need? SAMS.gov, I mentioned that it is free. You use SAM.gov to register to do business with the U.S. government, to update or renew your entity registration, to check the status of an entity registration, and to search for your entity registration. And your entity, that means that if you are an LLC or if you're a corporation, however you set your business up as a legal structure, SAMS.gov is the place where you can go in and you can get access to all of that information. Keep going. Okay. So what other paperwork do you need? We talked about a business account. With in some instances, and I want to go back here, because in some instances, you can use your business account if you are a sole proprietor. So if you are a sole proprietor, but you remember I talked about all of that other financial documents that you will need. Even if you're a sole proprietor, you still need those financial documents. So you track in the same way, whether you're a sole proprietor, a LLC, or corporation. Financial tracking and financial documentation is required to get access to governments and loans. W-2s, 1099s, if you have employees, how are you paying them? How are you paying yourself? That's information that is required as well. Registrations, we talked about Dun and Bradstreet, and we talked about SAMS.gov. Keep going. Now, here's a big one that I was very surprised to find, but it happened a lot more frequently than we wanted it to. But have not established their business with a federal employer identification number, or EIN number, or FEIN number. And to obtain an EIN number, you can go to the IRS website at irs.gov, and you can get your FEIN number there. Also, the state of Illinois, illinois.gov. And Ruben has mentioned some of these links. You will get access to all of the presentations as stated before. So if you're not taking notes, all of this information will be provided to you, and you can download the presentations. Next slide, please. So what is a grant? And Ruben talked about that, but a grant are non-refundable funds or products dispersed by or given by one party, which is known as a grant maker, and is often a government department, a corporation, foundation, or trust. And normally a grant does not have to be paid back, but the tracking is very important. If you are going to receive a grant, make sure that you're tracking those financial documents, how you're utilizing that grant money. Make sure you are documenting and tracking, because with grant funds, there is normally some type of audit paperwork that's required for you to identify how you are using the funds, and if you're using the funds in the proper manner that you stated that you would use the funds for, because each grant has different requirements and they have different purposes. Next slide, please. So there's different types of grants. There's federal grants, there are foundation grants, there's corporate sponsorships, there's local and state foundations, and I listed a few here. Some of the foundations are Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. There's others, there's the Abby Patent Assistant Foundation. And like I stated, each grant has their own requirements. So if your business may not meet those requirements, make sure that you read the grant, or if you have a grant writer, some individuals choose to go with a grant writer. If you have a grant writer, they will make sure that the grant that you're applying for aligns with the values or the interest, the overall mission of your business. Corporate sponsorships is a form of advertising where companies pay to be associated with certain events, which classifies most time as private sector funders. Some of the examples I'm using is JP Morgan and Exxon. And then there's some local and state community foundations, such as the Fox Valley. I'm in the Fox Valley area, so I use Fox Valley Community Foundation grant as an example. There's grants for DuPage County, and then there's another local grant that we have is through the Dunham Fund, and that is a private foundation, and you have to be within their footprint in order to get funding through their program. Next slide, please. So what is a loan? We talked about what a grant is. What is a loan? A loan is when you receive money from a friend, a bank, or a financial institution in exchange for future repayment of the principal plus interest. So a grant, you normally do not have to pay a grant back, but a loan, most instances, I would say 99.9%, or if it's from a friend or a family member who chooses not to have you to repay the loan, but most financial institution, microlenders like the Women's Business Center, the funds would have to be repaid. Next slide, please. So I'm going to touch on some types of loans. There's some different types of loans. I talked a little bit about personal loans and small business loans. So personal loans are guaranteed loans using your personal credit. In general, personal loans are meant for personal purchases, where business loans are meant to fund business-related purchases. So I'm going to stress that, and I keep putting a pin here like I did with the grants. Whenever you're getting funding, make sure you're using the funding for what you said you're going to use it for. Build those good banking relationships with your bank, and then when you need funds, you'll be able to go to them, and they'll be more apt to be happy to, to loan, provide you with the funding that you need in order to continue to grow and keep your business viable. But bank loans work similar to personal loans. You can get some from online lenders. Like I said, what's looked at is your credit score, your history, and your income to determine how much money that you can be that you can secure for a loan. And then also it helps to determine your annual percentage rate that you qualify for. And then once you get the loan, normally you pay it back in monthly installments. So microloans happen normally with intermediary lenders like the Women's Business Center. So the Women's Business Center, we are a micro lender. We normally can lend up to $50,000. Interest rates are a little higher than a regular bank, and that's because as a micro lender, we're taking more of a risk. Microloans are normally meant for businesses that are unable to secure a loan in a traditional way. That means going to a regular bank and securing funding, and that could mean that maybe you have not been in business that long, so you have not been able to establish a good business credit history, or it could be that your credit score may not be where it needs to be in order to secure a loan from a traditional lender. And so with the Women's Business Center, we're able to overlook those type of challenges that you may have and provide you with a loan up to $50,000. Right now, our interest rates are fairly low because the market rates are low. So if you're looking to secure a low interest loan, microloan, you can contact us at the Women's Business Center. Again, all of our information will be shown at the end of the presentation. So feel free to contact me, or you can contact our office directly to set up an appointment with one of our advisors from our Access to Capital program. Next slide, please. Now, this is the end of my portion of the presentation, but because I said that this is normally a workshop, I want you to get to work. I am going to leave you with some homework. So that was one of my objectives for today, is to provide you with some resources and tools, provide you with some information, and thirdly is to give you some homework so that you will continue to do the things that you need in order to continue to make sure your business is viable and is continuing to be successful. So your takeaway today from this workshop/webinar is, what paperwork do you have? Next slide. Next slide. What paperwork do you have? What do you need help with? Who can help you? So I want you to reflect on this today after the webinar. Don't let it sit and go stale, because normally once as small business owners, we're actively engaged, we're creating, we're always engaged in something. And normally when we leave something, chances are we don't go directly back to it. Sometimes we don't go back to it at all. So later on today, I want you to reflect on, what do you have? What do you need, and who can help you? Next slide. Now you have a plan. It's time to take action based upon what you have, who you need to help you. Assign dates to your plan. assign some owners, and then follow up with the proper resource with an advisor, a business coach, if you need an accountant or an attorney. Follow with the proper resources to make sure that you're continuing to grow your business and continuing to make sure that you're being successful and viable. Next slide, please. Happy holidays. And I think the last slide is the information on the Women's Business Center. So again, our website is www.wbdc.org. Our number is 312-853-3477, extension 100 if you would like to make an appointment. And there's my contact information directly if you want to reach out to me. Thank you again, Michelle. Thank you, Mina. Thank you, Nike. And thank you all for attending the webinar and the workshop today.
Thank you so much, Terry, for that information. Really appreciate it. It's so important about the paperwork piece, and I've heard that as well from many of those who had the CARES Act earlier on. But we do appreciate you guys, both of you all, for sharing those tools and resources. Now that you guys have heard from some of our external partners, we have a few internal partners that we want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that, from a NICOR and a Southern Company Gas perspective, that we had to do in terms of pivoting and how small and diverse businesses have helped us as well. So next up, I have the honor of introducing Tim Mcallister. So Tim is responsible for category management and transactions for Southern Company Gas and power generation function. In this role, he leads the team of category managers, contract agents, and buyers responsible for developing category management strategies, developing contracts, and sourcing services and materials for capital and operations and maintenance spend for Southern Company Gas, as well as our electrical generating access. In addition to his role as general manager, Tim also serves as the chairperson for the supply chain management transaction leadership team and serves on the SPC Maximo Steering Committee. In his 25+ years with Southern Company, Tim has held many positions in supply chain supporting power generation. Before assuming his current responsibility, Tim served as the manager of strategic transformation and unregulated entities. In this role, Tim was responsible for leading the SCM's organization transformation, which included reorganizing supply chain management by function, so power delivery, generation, enterprise services, and implementing category management across Southern Company. Also, he has served as strategic sourcing team leader for Southern Company Generation. In this role, he was responsible for supervising and setting the strategy of MRO sourcing, major equipment, and alliances for all of Southern Company Gas. Tim received his BS degree in management and accounting certifications from Georgia Institute of Technology in 1995 and an MBA from Verena University in 2005. Tim earned his certified purchasing manager designation in 1998, his certified purchasing supplier professional designation in 2015, and is certified as a John Maxwell trainer, teacher, speaker, and coach. Mcallister also served as an adjunct professor at Southern Crescent Technology College in Griffin, Georgia, where he taught business management courses in leadership, organizational behavior, business ethics, and performance management for 5 years. He also served as the Sunday school teacher for his high school boys youth group at Sharon Baptist Church in Mbda, Georgia. Tim and his wife, Kelly, have 2 children, Maiva, Joy, and Marlo, and currently live in Mbda, Georgia. And Tim, I apologize if I mispronounced your daughter's name, but let's welcome Tim. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Michelle. No, you pronounced it correctly, Maiva Joy. Again, just thank you for having me today. I appreciate everyone who's joined the call and the webinar. As Michelle mentioned, we transformed supply chain management a couple of years ago, and coming out of that transformation was our mission, a new mission statement that basically says partner with our business units and suppliers to provide goods and services that maximize value, mitigate risk, and promote operational excellence of Southern Company. And as everyone knows that are in business, maximizing value and mitigating risk, you've got to balance those two. You could have things that are really cheap, but they increase your risk, as well as things that are really expensive that mitigate all your risks. So as I talk a little bit about our COVID response today, keep that kind of in mind and what we were trying to do. So if we'll go to the next slide. So as everyone's aware, we had this little thing called a pandemic that hit us back in March, and Southern Company's traditional way of attacking crisis type events from a supply chain perspective is really, we go into what we call our storm mode. We do a very good job at responding to hurricanes, tornadoes, weather events. And that's initially, that was the way we approached the pandemic for basically the first month. And if anybody's been through a hurricane or a storm restoration, it's really more like a sprint. And so it's about a 2-week sprint. You try to get the power back on, the gas back flowing, and it's everybody, all hands on deck. And so once we realized that this response to the pandemic was going to be more than a 2-week or 3-week event, we had to pivot the way we approached getting products and services to our critical employees. And as you can see on the screen here, as of the first of the month, we've got a lot of product or PPE on hand to support our employees when they re-enter work. And this is really what we call our phase 3 of re-entry. But ongoing is a subset of this for our current employees who are on the job working every day, keeping the gas flowing, supporting our customers, as well as protecting them as we go through our business. So when we pivoted, the market was, we knew the market was getting tight. Supplies from overseas was getting stopped at customs. And so we had to change our focus from just a standard storm approach to more of a category management approach, where we had a team of buyers, category managers, and contract agents focused on these different PPE categories. And so we had our traditional supply, this PPE suppliers that are go-to folks. And once we realized some of their supply chain was getting impacted, we had to back up and come up with a different approach as well. So we had a team focused on our current suppliers, but then we also stood up a team that would be focused on vetting out new suppliers. And with these vetting out the new suppliers, we go to focus on local suppliers. As anyone knows, the longer your supply chain is, and when I mean the distance, how long it takes to get a product from manufacturing to your doorstep, the length of that chain and the number of hands that product passes through increases your risk. And as we saw with, say, face coverings and some hand protection, that was a very long supply chain, and with hand sanitizers and disinfectants. So our focus began to look at local suppliers. How do we shorten our supply chain to mitigate that risk? And so our team created what we call this one marketplace for business partners, so that we could secure products that needed not just PPE, but other critical supplies. So we'll go to the next slide. So we created this internal marketplace where we had Office Depot, where we could get products shipped to our employees that were not in the office anymore, as well as using Amazon Business Prime to do the same thing. So we have a couple of channels for our employees that were now working remote to be able to get the products and services that they needed to be successful to continue to have, the electricity flowing and the gas flowing. The other piece that we created was this local, small, and diverse section of our website internally, so that as individuals or employees were identifying other companies within their areas that were transforming their business to meet different needs, we gave them a place where they could submit those. So if we go to the next slide. So they had a list that they could provide, browse a list, and that list was mainly food services of local suppliers that could deliver to our offices, as well as potentially deliver to our employees' homes if they needed that, and also supported the local community. And then they could also refer a business. So if they knew of someone that owned a business and they were maybe struggling and we were going to transform their business from, say, making alcohol or tequila to making hand sanitizer, we wanted to know about it. And so a couple of employees did refer a couple of businesses that had done that, and we were able to contact that business, vet them out, make sure everything was properly done, particularly in the hand sanitizer, and able to provide the amount of hand sanitizer that you saw to our employees. And one of those companies was here locally in Atlanta, called Fourth Ward Brewery, and they're still doing that particular business today. And so that was one of the key things, was referring a business to us. And so what that did is allowed us, our vetting team, to really begin to vet out those businesses. So we had a team focused on current suppliers, and then a team focused on new suppliers, with, again, the focus being on local suppliers, so that we could reduce or shorten our supply chain. So that's kind of how we approached it. But there's also, you might be wanting to know, well, how do I become one of those suppliers? Well, on our Southern Company Gas website, and I'll post this in the chat, there's a link for you to go in and you could register to do business with Southern Company Gas. And I'll also post one for the Southern Company as well, so that you, if it's not just gas in the NICOR region that you support, and you can support other areas like Virginia, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. We have needs out in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Washington, Oklahoma, Texas, and I believe West Virginia. So we're located, we've got needs across the U.S. And so if you can support some of those, we'd like to know that as well. And with that, I'll turn it back to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Tim. That's just some very helpful information. And we did pivot, and we saw the value of small and local diverse businesses helped us, particularly during that time, to shorten that supply chain. So we want to thank you so much for sharing that information. And our last speaker today, Brian Mariama, is going to share some very helpful information of some programs that NICOR Gas is about to implement that will also be able to help small and diverse businesses. So Brian is the Director of Credit, Collections, and Remittance at NICOR Gas. He's responsible for the strategic direction of the company's credit policies and collection activities, and has responsibility for all customer payment processing. Brian has been with NICOR over 30 years. Throughout his career, he served in several roles within customer experience organization and various accounting areas. He is a founding member of and currently serves as an officer in the company's AAPI Employee Resource Group. Brian and his wife have 4 grown children and 4 grandchildren, plus 1 more on the way. Congratulations. So Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. I'd love to talk mostly about my grandkids, but I will try and limit it to these couple of programs that I've been asked to introduce. So I hope you are going to see, after we talk about these, that there are some available programs that NICOR Gas has in place that are over and above the existing things that we do, that I hope that if you do need to take advantage of it, that you do. So the first one has to do with payment arrangements. For customers that are find themselves in a past due balance situation, the company offers payment arrangements where you can, in our standard payment arrangement terms, over there on the left side of this slide, for a third of your account balance as a down payment, you can set up your balance on a deferred payment arrangement. And the deferred payment arrangement, after the 1/3 that's put down, is split into 4 equal monthly installments. And those installments are just paid in addition to whatever your current bill is for those 4 months. So for example, if you have, just going to pick a number, $900, it helps for easier math for me. So if there's an outstanding balance that you hold of $900, you would pay the initial $300 as your down payment, and then the remaining $600 or $150 per installment will be paid in addition to your normal monthly bill. So that helps mitigate some of the need to have to put up the $900 plus your current bill all at one time. And then as we flip to the new COVID payment arrangements, which were introduced these past few months, we decided that we would go with a program that did not require a down payment. And in addition to that, that instead of the 4 monthly installments, we extended it out to 9 installments. We believe that's a much better, much more palatable way to help manage through this crisis. And some of you may have already taken advantage of those terms. And if you haven't, I really suggest that you either go out to our website, our My Account website, which is our self-service website, at nycorgas.com/myaccount, and you just log into there and go in under payment options, and you can go ahead and set up your payment arrangements. So hopefully that is something that you find helpful if there is ever a situation where you are past due and you do need this additional flexibility. So in addition to this, there is one program I want to introduce. We are at Nicor Gas have a fund that we are using for small business, specific to small businesses, small business emergency assistance. So with that, what the company is planning on doing is applying some of these funds to customers up to 50% of their outstanding past due balance, I should say, and with a maximum of a $500 assistance. So it hasn't rolled out yet. It will very soon, and we will make sure that all the information comes out to you. And that way, if this is something that you find you're eligible for and would like to apply, all of that information will be in there. We will have an online method for you to apply, and we're also in final discussions around other options to apply. So I hope those programs are something that you find can help ease the burden in these, very unquestionable times. And I appreciate your attention, and I will now pass it over to Michelle. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, Brian, thank you so much. I think that's going to be very helpful for many small and diverse companies that are struggling in that aspect. So being able to have those funds available to assist is going to be huge for many. So thank you so much.
Sure.
So Jackie, I'll turn it over to you. Do we have any questions in the chat box for any of our presenters?
We do. We've got some great questions. I think we've got maybe 1 or 2 for each of our speakers today. So before I launch into that, I do just want to remind everybody that all of today's presentations are going to be available. We're going to have PDFs posted of the actual decks on the resources tab of this event site. We'll also have the video recording posted early next week, so you can find those all on that resources tab of the event site, and I'm going to drop that link in our chat so everybody can grab it if you want it. So keep an eye out for the those presentations. They'll be showing up soon. All right. So beyond that, that was the hot question in the chat this whole session. Beyond that, we got a question for Ruben. Does a minority-owned business have to be in Chicago to utilize Mbda services?
Thank you for that question. No, they do not have to be in Chicago. The Mbda service the entire state of Illinois. We also service Wisconsin. We also service Indiana and Iowa. So you do not have to be in the you don't have to be in local to get our services, and you do not have to be a minority-owned business to get our services either. You can just be a small business.
Great. And the next question, I think, is for either Ruben or Terry. You guys might both have the answer to this. Are PPP loans still available, and what's the best way to get them, and are they really forgivable?
So I'll start if Terry wants, if you don't mind, Terry.
Go ahead, Ruben.
Okay. PPP loans are no longer being dispersed out. The time frame for those has passed. They are forgivable up to a certain portion. Some of the requirements for the PPP loan was that you use the money because it's called a payment protection program, for your employees' payment for your payroll. So part of that, and you can also use some of the money for some of your operating expenses. But like Terry was saying in her comments, your paperwork, boy, oh boy, your paperwork is very, very important. If you don't have everything documented, they will not forgive any part of the loan. So to answer the question, PPP loans are not available right at this particular point in time. There, as Terry also mentioned, there may be some more funding coming out, and they may reintroduce the program. Part or all of your PPP loan can be forgiven, but it depends upon how you use the money, what you use the money for, and the documentation that you have. Terry, you have anything to add to that?
I think you covered it all, Ruben. Document. If you receive some of the funding, make sure that you're using it for what you said you're going to use it for, and keep all your paperwork about every single thing. QuickBooks, right. QuickBooks. If you don't have it, get QuickBooks.
All right.
We do have, and I believe, Terry, you guys do have, we do have webinars that we offer on an ongoing basis to talk about PPP forgiveness. We will be reintroducing that after the first of the year, because that is when it's going to hit a lot of small businesses, because December 31st is going to be a cutoff for people having, well, not the cutoff, but people will start doing their taxes, and they're going to want to determine that, because it does have a tax implication on your corporate taxes or your business taxes. So we'll be check our website or follow up with Lenora or I, and we can tell you when our next PPP loan forgiveness application or webinar is going to be. And Terry, I know you guys have one too.
Absolutely. With the Women's Business Center, you have our website. All of our events are there. Again, our phone number, you can contact our office, and you can make an appointment with our Access to Capital team. They can assist you with if you got the PPP, they can assist you with any questions that you may have. Abigail Scanlon is our director of that department. So if you have any questions around what, if you don't understand what you applied for and what you need to do, you can contact our Access to Capital office, and they will definitely tell you.
Perfect. Thanks, Ruben and Terry. I think my next question was going to be, with all the documentation that's out there, is there a resource that can help me get this all together and help me understand what all I need? And I know that Terry, you covered some of that in your presentation today, but just for anybody who joined a little bit late or missed your part of the presentation, is there a dedicated resource that can help with that?
Business Center do advising, so that's what we're there for. We have over 40 advisors. We're in 8 states. So that's what we do. You can contact us. Our services are free. We walk you through what documents you need. The actual preparation of the documents is not something that we do. We can provide you with the resources. If you need access to resources, we have all types of resources. So we can give you access to capital, contacts, and contracts. I don't know if I said that at first, but that's a part of what we do, provide you with the resources. If we're unable to, provide that type of service, then we have the resources that will. And we deal with thousands of small businesses every year. So there is a small business that we have that will be able to assist you in some type of way. We have small businesses from all industries that we partner with, and that on an annual basis.
Just on our end, real quick, for the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, as well as for the Chicago Minority Business Development Agency. We do have team members that you can we can connect you with that will help you with identifying what paperwork you need, as well as Terry said, we do not complete the paperwork or anything like that, but we have the webinars and we have access to various different local subject matter experts that can give you detailed instructions on what you need to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question for Terry. Do you have to have a women-owned business to get a loan through UBDC?
No, you do not, and you do not have to be a woman for us to serve you. In the Aurora area in particular, 17% of our clients are actually males, so you do not have to be a woman.
Great. And then another one for you, Terry. Can you get a startup loan if you want to shift gears to another business, whether it was affected by COVID or not?
Absolutely. So you just need to contact me. We will sit down and discuss, your business plan. You definitely need a business plan for any loan almost that you get. You need some type of documentation to show how you're going to operate your business, what you're going to do with the money. That's you have to have that type of documentation to be able to tell your story to the lender that you are worth the risk, because a bank or a microloan, either way, whatever lender, they're taking a risk. So you have to be able to tell your story. What am I going to do with these funds? Why do I need these funds? What experience do I have in running this business? Because a lot of times when you're a startup and you do not have history, your experience is one of the things that we look at the Women's Business Center when we review our microloans. And then the other thing, if you are a startup and you do not have business credit history, then we can take a look at your personal credit. So reach out to me, schedule an appointment, and we can talk about what you need to do to get that loan for your startup.
Great. All right, the next set of questions I've got are for Tim. So first, Tim, what kind of information do I need to have to register as a supplier for Southern Company Gas?
So I posted the links in the chat for you to click on, and you would want to follow that information that's in that link. It's going to be a lot of the information that Terry and Ruben have talked about in order to get registered with Southern Company. And then if you're a minority-owned business, you want to make sure that you've got your certifications that you can submit through the website as well. And Michelle is also a great contact for that, as well as I am.
Great. And then another one for you, Tim. I'm a certified minority company with the City of Chicago. Gas or Southern Company Gas recognize that certification, because I would like to offer my services to Nicor Gas as a minority vendor.
So I think I'll have to punt that one over to Michelle, but in order to know if we recognize that certification or not.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Great. And this last one, I think, is an internal question from somebody at Nicor Gas or Southern Company Gas. It says, I was last told that PPE procurement has been centralized through Georgia Power. Has that changed?
So as I mentioned, during our COVID response earlier in the year, we put together teams with each category, with a category management team. Basically, you have a category manager, a buyer for each one of those PPE items. Now, as we've moved forward, we've reduced the size of that team and are trying to get and working to get those products back into the normal flow of business, so that it's not a big team focused on these small sets of items. We still have a category manager in place, but the buying and the procurement piece is still being done by each of the buyers within each of the operating companies. We expect to kind of keep this kind of centralized and focused until we move into what we call phase 3, where most of our employees may re-enter the workforce or re-enter the office. But again, at the end of the day, we're trying to get this just to be part of our normal business and then have a safety stock for pandemic response.
Great, thanks. I think that's all the questions that we have today. So I'll turn it back over to Michelle to close us out. One thing that I'll mention, and it looks like we've got some comments in the chat about this. So for each of our speakers from today, if you can drop your contact information in the chat, that'd be a great place for everybody to get the information that they need and get in touch with you.
Thanks, Jackie. Thank you so much. So everyone, really on behalf of Nicor Gas, we really like to thank you for taking time out your day to attend our Fueling Forward Resources for Small and Diverse Business webinar. We really hope that you found some of the information, some of the resources that were shared today to be very valuable and really to helping you fuel your business and to move forward. Again, many thanks to our presenters. So Ruben, Terry, Tim, Brian, thank you. Thank you to the WBDC in Aurora and Chicago, CMSDC, CMDA. We value our continued partnership. And then thanks to the entire Nicor team for making this possible, Mina, Dante, Lauren, and Jackie. And so again, this will conclude our event today. Everyone have a great day and stay safe. Thank you.